We demystify what goes on behind the therapy room door. Join us on this voyage of discovery and co-creative conversations. This is the Therapy Show, Behind Closed Doors podcast.
With Bob Cooke
and Kellie Barratt.
Hello and welcome to the Therapy Show Behind Closed Doors. I'm Kellie Barratt and I'm here with the wonderful Mr. Bob Cooke. Hello, Bob.
Hello, Kelly.
How you doing? You feeling well?
Yeah, well, we're coming up towards Christmas anyway, so that's a tiring time in some ways, buying presents and doing all those different things. I'm also on a diet, so I'm losing weight.
How are you?
Yeah. I was just looking at myself and think, gosh, I've lost quite a lot of weight. I started off at 15 stone 7, and I'm about 13 stone 10 as we speak.
Wow, nearly 2 stone. Well done, you.
Well, 24 pounds or something.
Yeah.
So they're very expensive though, because none of the clothes I had fit me, or not sort of not as how they should do. So charity shops are getting a lot of money from me, and what I mean, they'll be happy to hand them on. So I'm going to have to buy new. I suppose they could be Christmas presents, can't they?
Oh, they can. Yes. Well done, you.
So anyway, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Because I think I want to get down to 12 stone if possible.
Oh, that sounds a lot. Well, that sounds very low. But
until I was 38, I was always 11 stone 7. And I hit 40, and I went up to 12 stone, and then I gradually just put weight on to 15 stone 7 at the age of 75. So I thought, oh well, if I can get down to about 12, maybe 12 and a half stone.
You'll be pleased. Oh, well, I wish you well. Good luck. Keep us posted.
I will keep you posted.
So tonight we are on episode number 230, and we're talking about how to deal with loneliness and withdrawal in the therapy process.
Well, over to you then, Kelly.
Yes.
How do you... I was thinking about this, and I obviously have a way of thinking about it, but I'll be interested as a therapist for many, many years, how you think about the concepts.
Loneliness, yeah. So I tend to think if a client is lonely, they're likely not in contact with their child ego state. And
so you're using TA terms.
I do think TA, yeah.
So if you didn't think TA, how?
Yes, okay. Yes, I would be thinking about how are they kind to themselves and how are they in relationship with others.
Right, yes, yeah. So you would be thinking about they have challenges perhaps in social connection with other people.
Yes, and they might be sabotaging themselves, and that might be difficult for them then to see what's happening. So I think of the relationship with me as being a great place for us to explore all of that.
So do you also think of it in terms of script decisions and early decisions early in life as a way of protecting themselves, perhaps?
Yes, yeah. I tend to think some things probably they've not been attended to as they needed when they were young, and so they've created a way of being in the world that's been useful so far, but it's probably not working now. But they probably are feeling quite defended against contact with others.
Okay, so you look at perhaps the therapy from a developmental perspective.
Yes, yeah.
And look at how the past affects the present.
Yes. I feel like we say that in every episode, Bob.
Well, it's an interesting one, what you're saying, because we both think developmentally, and yet I know many therapists don't.
Yes, yeah.
So I can imagine me saying that most episodes because I want to emphasize that I think most mental health issues, from my perspective, have their origins at a developmental level in the past.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Many therapists, specifically cognitive behavioral therapists, for example, they don't think that way, and majority of those people work in the NHS, and they may treat loneliness very different from thinking of it in a developmental perspective.
Yeah, so they kind of give practical
coping mechanisms and things like that.
Yeah.
Much more solution-focused dimension.
Yeah.
I think I've said there's a developmental perspective, but if I look at this in terms of, let's think of two concepts particularly: loneliness and aloneness.
Yes, not necessarily the same thing.
Well, they aren't the same thing in my concept. I don't put them together.
No, because lots of people are really happy being alone.
Well, I'm not sure about that one. They may have decided very early in their life that being alone and disconnected from the self, which is what I think aloneness is, I think it's an internal process, is protective, or it's the way they've survived. Whether they are happy in that, I'm not so sure, because when I talk, I was thinking people come with issues where they talk about aloneness. They talk about usually a feeling of being empty in the world, a feeling of being not connected, not only internally but also externally. But they talk about a sort of deadness or an aloneness, emptiness, as a way of explaining the aloneness. And I've yet to experience anybody who said they feel happy when they feel alone. They may feel that the aloneness soothes them, or they may feel the aloneness as a coping mechanism, but I'm not sure happiness and aloneness go together.
So I'm a bit confused. So the aloneness and loneliness, you see them as separate?
Very different concepts.
Okay. And the loneliness is an internal process.
I see aloneness
as
very much a disconnection of the self.
Okay.
So it's internal.
Okay.
So whereas I see loneliness often as a desire for external connection, almost like a relational need that's been unmet.
Yes.
So I often see it as a striving to be external, not necessarily an internal connection.
Okay. I mean, of course, clients aren't generally coming into therapy to tell us how happy they are with their aloneness, so we're probably not going to see those people. But I guess the aloneness and being alone, because I really enjoy being alone at times. So how...
That's different, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
You said at times.
Yes.
Now, I think there's a difference between wanting to have your own space, wanting to have a place for to think about things, to meditate, perhaps to contemplate, etc., etc. But if people have a sense of aloneness as a fixed way of being, I think in a completely different ball game.
So is that like the inability to move in and out of relationship?
I think it's the inability to. I think it's the inability to connect with themselves.
Okay. So, and being alone. So my enjoyment of being alone is me connecting with myself, but that is not aloneness.
That's how I see it, because I know you do have the ability to connect with yourself, and therefore in that process, you choose to have space.
Yes.
You choose to find solitude as a way of perhaps enjoying yourself or whatever, but it's a choice.
Yes, that's fine.
Yourself.
Yes. So, but the aloneness is where the client is disconnected from themselves. So
no, loneliness. See, they go together in a way. I hear the confusion, because if you're disconnected with yourself, by definition, you will find connection with others harder.
Yes.
So I understand that.
Yeah.
I think there's different distinctions. I think somebody comes into therapy because they feel alone, often are so disconnected with themselves, they feel particularly empty. And they often feel like they don't belong in the world, almost like being an alien.
Okay.
When somebody comes in and reports they want to look at their loneliness,
Yeah.
I think they're talking about a external position. In other words, a desire for connection with others.
Okay, so they're desiring the loneliness there. Okay. And that has been from a
They're desiring connection.
yes, but that's been a relational need has not been met.
Yeah, I think it's to do with an interconnection between people.
Okay.
Whereas I see aloneness as an internal disconnection.
Between the parts of themselves.
If you use TA,
Yes, please do.
we'll use that language you said right at the beginning, if
Yeah.
you want to. It's a disconnection with the child part of themselves.
Yes. Yes.
That's aloneness.
Okay. Yes, I'm with you now. So, because I think everybody feels alone when they're not in connection with their child. I think that's a
Yes, and if it's not a problem for them, you won't see them.
no, no, no. Yeah. That's quite a distinction. I feel like that's a lot for me to kind of process the difference between those two things, but put it into TA language makes more sense to me.
Yeah, and I think loneliness and aloneness, by the way, both of them, there's different treatment plans. I think they're different. I also think that mental health challenges come from both those conditions.
Yes. So what would you see?
Well, let's start with loneliness.
Mm.
I think you often see a feeling of, self-esteem would be quite low, maybe because
Yeah.
they find it hard to maintain relationships or perhaps be in relationships.
Mm.
And it's a desire that they are, seek.
Yeah.
You might find a sense of, relationship issues or
Yeah.
relationship difficulties.
Mm.
So they bring their own mental health challenges, I think.
Yeah. And the aloneness.
Disconnection with the self.
Yeah. Yeah.
If there's a disconnection with the self, they therefore are often not in touch with their own sensations or what's happening to body level or what's happening with feelings, and their challenges are more likely to be a lack of enjoyment, a real feeling of existential core despair.
Yeah. So, but both is deep work.
Oh, both are deep work. I think the trap is if you look at it as just simply let's deal with the coping mechanisms or finding different ways for them to deal with different processes. It's short-lived.
Yeah. It's making me think about couples and when kind of they have the way that they've connected has been through sex, and then after, of course, the sex starts to diminish, and then they're a bit like they don't know how to connect, and that's quite a difficult if they've been together for years and years and years, and then that they have to kind of relearn how to do that.
Well, people who feel an utter aloneness and emptiness in life and a disconnection themselves, they might use sex in many different ways. They may use it to please the other person. They might use it as adaptation. They might use it as a way of thinking that's what they need to do in relationships. But they may be very alone and still, be in a sexual relationship.
Yes, yes. Yeah, they're different, aren't they? That connection and sex, they're not necessarily connected for some clients.
I often think people who come in and talk about an addiction to sex, or even we could talk about others like addiction to many other things, but let's stay with sex addiction. Are often very alone people, or often feel very alone, and they are attempting to fill the emptiness, the connection with another person, and failing miserably.
Yeah, so they don't know how to do it, so they're getting that need met through sex.
I don't think the need gets met. I think somebody who comes from always feeling alone in life is a core existential issue, and sex, or that desire, which I don't think is a desire, but a a desire to fill the emptiness by connection with another will never works. So they're always in this perpetual challenging position, if you like.
Yes, and that could be the same for alcohol or drugs or any other kind of addiction. So trying to kind of fill a hole with something that won't work.
Well, people who suffer from loneliness may not feel that existential disconnection and emptiness in life. They desire connection to fill some relational need, or whatever way you want to look at it. They're not necessarily connected.
I'm kind of thinking about this, a schizoid client and how they might quite like being at home with all the books and not making so much connection, but then make the world quite small.
Now you're talking about a client who, if we go back to what you said about space, and you might enjoy it, and that's a choice. Now, somebody uses withdrawal as a defense system against exposure, for example, which we might call a schizoid trait. They don't feel they have a choice. It's like an automatic coping mechanism.
Okay. But might they feel like they are choosing it, but actually they're making their world quite small?
Well, they may feel like they're choosing it, yes. And I often think, if we're talking about withdrawal as a defense mechanism against feeling exposed or to protect themselves, they could see a survival choice, but I think you need to take them right back to where they made it. Otherwise, it almost becomes an automatic habit.
Yeah, so it feels like they're choosing it, but actually it's not been chosen from a healthy place.
Yeah, it's like an automatic script decision from a younger part of themselves.
Yeah.
And withdrawal for most people is a defense system. It's protect themselves from what they see as scare, hurt, fear, or exposure in the world. If it becomes fixed, that character often is called, in the way you just talked about it, quite split, disconnected from itself. And the word for that is schizoid.
Yeah.
Schizoid means split.
Oh, is that what it literally means?
Yeah, it's disconnected from the self.
Yes. So when you say it like that, that's like the perfect definition for aloneness.
So I think the treatment for aloneness is integration
of the parts themselves.
Yeah, they can. That's not true. That's the goal. So the treatment is, first of all, for a person to be aware they're disconnected, of course. Often they may or may not be aware of that. And of course, as I said, to look at where that comes from in their history. It's usually very young, and it's usually as a defense against trauma.
Yeah. So they've created a safe way of protecting themselves.
Yeah, against being defined, criticized, put down, humiliated, shame. They retreat away from that attacking self, or the attacking other.
Yes, but the internal other that is attacking them. Oh, do you mean? Sorry, you mean in actual they're in real life, the other that was attacking them, and then they've internalized it.
Yes, they've internalized it. So they live with this internal critic. They're always attempting to get away from. So with that type of treatment, that type of work therapeutically, it's very much about trust. It's very much about being there. It's slow, patient work where you become a constant, predictable object, if you like, or other, for the person to feel safe enough to be able to work on integrating the different parts of themselves.
Yes, and that so it can take a long time, but
a very long time. Very long time. And you must have worked with withdrawn people a lot in your
yes, I have, and sometimes the work's gone. It's taken years and years, but with good success rates. It's just, but like you're saying, it can take a long time. I've been thinking about this and how COVID affected people. So even though perhaps it wasn't something mental like we both used to working with, the lockdowns and COVID kind of created a whole artificial state of loneliness that and sometimes there's still some clients are still recovering from that, I think.
Yeah, because they're how can I explain this to you? It's different from aloneness, where people are so disconnected with themselves, they may find some solitude, if you like, in the COVID process because it's familiar. But they're still, of course, disconnected from themselves, then they still feel an existential aloneness. But I think loneliness is different. So I think the COVID situation, people were forced in a way to be in a position where their connection for the other was cut off.
And people were creative in their ways to keep connecting, but I saw some really kind of long-term issues around lockdown, and some clients loved it, but other clients, they're still dealing with the fallout from that now, even all these years later, 5 years later.
What did you see as the fallout for a lot of your clients?
Yeah, so they lost agency, but then they made their worlds quite small and didn't then come back out into the world when everybody else was coming back out. And so it's been quite a journey for them to move out of that isolation. Because some clients, it's kind of like it just didn't feel safe, and not in a germ-filled unsafeness, but just in they'd made the world so small, they were used to just living inside that world now. And there were other clients that were furious that their socializing got curtailed because they really needed it, because they had really difficult home life situations, and so it was a real mixed bag. But certainly I still see that in my therapy room, the effects of it.
Yeah, and I think loneliness often is comes with aging. So the elderly, for example, I think are more prone to loneliness for lots of different reasons. They might have lost their life partner. Health conditions keeps them inside. They've retired and lost their sense of identity to the job they had and purpose of life. Yeah. And they might do exactly what you're talking about. Their world becomes much more smaller, and as it becomes smaller, they lose, or they may lose, their desire to connection, or are afraid to actually connect again.
Because I suppose if we retire, for example, then that very ever-present daily work of contact is just there naturally, isn't it? So once we kind of have to then be really proactive to go and seek the contact when it's not there naturally.
Yeah, and of course, often work may give somebody a great purpose in life, and it's part of their identity. If that suddenly goes, what can happen is their world gets purposeless. In other words, their purpose goes, and the world gets smaller.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of purpose. That kind of structure. I think work doesn't just give us the cash, it also gives us real purpose.
Life.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. So, I've been doing this job for 41 years or whatever it is. So my purpose in life, which has been very much around helping people, having an impact in the world, helping people with mental health problems, providing an institute for South Manchester community to be able to deal with their mental health challenges, and training people to be therapists and supervisors so they could do the same thing. So when I retire and that goes, and my major purpose in life, or has been for 40 odd years, is severely challenged.
Yes. So will
I
you?
don't think of the cash. The cash doesn't even come into my head.
Yeah.
I think purpose, identity, of course, cash does come into people's heads for different issues, but in general, I think it's purpose and identity that gets threatened through retirement. I know it's not a podcast on retirement, but
Yes.
it's certainly, I know people withdraw a lot. And it just reminded me of that same process when you talked about COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
People
Yeah.
can actually start creating an environment for loneliness because they have a fear of, going out, just like you explained. So I think COVID did produce a climate like that.
Yeah. And I always think once we stop doing something and we move further away from it, it becomes harder to get back to it. So the longer we don't do something, the harder it is to return to it. So those of us who got straight back out there or got back in the flow quite quickly. I think that that's the case for everything. Even when couples stop having sex, or when we stop exercising, the longer we leave it, the harder it is to return to it. So,
and I see aloneness as a completely different aspect of, if we're talking about this.
yeah.
Who alone have an existential disconnection. They feel empty and almost soulless. And while I'm saying that, I feel very sad because their any sense of vibrance isn't there. And you're right, they can feel alone in the disco because it's not about being connected with other people. It's about a disconnection with the self.
Yeah. And so finding that connection, that way to reconnect with I would say, the child ego state.
Yeah. But they've lost touch with it. They're fragmented.
Yeah.
They're disconnected. It works around helping a person integrate, being less fragmented. That's what the work's about at that level.
Yeah. And sometimes that can take them a while because they've not been connected to that part of themselves for a long time.
So let's take a therapy group, because I know you run them.
I do.
So somebody who's suffering from acute aloneness, being in a therapy group won't necessarily deal with that.
No.
But, whereas somebody who is suffering from acute loneliness, a therapy group might.
Yes. That would be my treatment plan, would be to try to encourage them into the therapy group.
Somebody's suffering from aloneness.
Yes, that won't work.
I don't think that is necessarily what it's about.
No.
Because they might have a huge fear of exposure. So actually being in a therapy group isn't necessarily the way forward.
Yeah.
So I think they're two different ways of looking at treating people.
Yes.
Loneliness.
Yeah, I think people who are with aloneness are less likely to agree to go into a group, though. Anyway, I don't think
they need to work individually. Somebody who knows how to work and help people integrate, if you like.
Yeah. So they feel safe in that relationship with me, and then
there we are. That's it. So I think the work is individual.
yeah, I agree.
I'm dealing with existential loneliness.
Mm.
But I think loneliness is a different story
Yes.
because the desire for connection is there, where it's not with somebody who's like feeling alone because they're not connected with themselves. They don't love themselves. There's no connection.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of how long that work can take. It takes patience, yeah.
That type of work, helping somebody connect with themselves, finding themselves, all the things we just talked about, takes a very long time because, first of all, they need to feel secure and safe to be able to work without feeling maybe exposed or shamed or humiliated, or they're going to be attacked, or they feel vulnerable, whichever way you want to look at it. So the work is very slow work, very patient work.
Yeah, but also rewarding work. I think it's when a client moves through that process, and they I think it's
very rewarding,
a joy to see.
Yeah. So the biggest trap for a therapist working with somebody with existential aloneness, is their own countertransference. In other words, what a lot of therapists, beginning therapists particularly, or people who have been trained to work in the way we're talking about here, will often move to problem solve and try to rescue all these different ways of which will never work because it's a completely different way of working with them.
Yes. I see it as my job to sit in that space with them, just alongside them. So, and
that's a skill. That is a skill which therapists usually learn by experience.
Yes, yeah.
Because what happens by sitting in silence or aloneness, or however you ever want to look at this, the therapist often feels, often through their own past issues, by the way, that they aren't doing enough, or so they move into this doing frame rather than what is needed, which is actually moving to a being frame.
Yes, but if I move into doing, then I'm moving into the client space, and rather than the client coming out to meet me. So it's a disservice. Yeah.
So that doesn't mean that you may not initiate contact, but I think the first place is what you've just said. So it's around timing, which is providing a safe space and a secure space for them to explore that. I could talk a long time about aloneness. Loneliness is a different thing, I think, because there's the desire for connection, which for whatever reasons has been thwarted. Those people aren't usually disconnected from themselves. So it's a different treatment plan, I think. And groups will, I think, favour that type of person.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's good for them, for a client to experience themselves in contact with other people. So, and see how hard it is or how easy, whichever, but it's usually hard. So to be in that space and supported by the group, I think is really useful.
Okie dokie. Thank you for allowing me to talk about it.
Yeah, well, thank you for talking about it. So our next podcast is number 231, and it's The Body Keeps the Score, the use of the body in psychotherapy. Yeah,
so something I'm very interested in, and the title is from a book, which is called The Body Knows a Score by somebody called Van der Kolk.
Yeah, Bessel van der Kolk.
And he wrote this, I think, about 20 years ago, would you say? So
yeah, it's a long time.
A very accessible book. And it's basically around the idea that the body and the mind are connected.
Yes.
The body and the emotional mind, if you like, are connected. I couldn't go off talking about the next podcast quite easily because it's such a wonderful book. Okay.
Yes. Super. So say goodbye to the listeners and see you next time.
See you next time. And I might be even more shadow of my former self. Then
I've lost even more weight.
my weight loss, yeah.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Therapy Show, Behind Closed Doors podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. We'll be back next week with another episode.